Horror video games have to be some of the most difficult games in my opinion to ever make. Between giving audiences an actually good scare along with bringing in good gameplay, there's a lot of mechanics you really have to balance. Today I want to talk about one of those games that really nails it in the horror department and I can say is a pretty solid game. Now with all that out of the way, I'm Taylor from AfrofishOG and this is my review of Still Wakes the Deep. AfrofishOG. So while Still Wakes the Deep dropped recently on Gamepass, it actually came out on June 18th of 2024. The game is developed by the Chinese Room and published by a company named Secret Mode. I personally have never heard of either of these companies, so they're very, very new. I'm actually kind of with you on this one. I don't know who either of these companies are. However, the story itself and the actual synopsis of this game is really, really good. You play as a character named Cameron Kaz McLeary, who is a married man with 2 daughters, and he is basically fighting for his life on an oil rig that is being taken over by a weird alien force. The game really feels much more like a H.P. Lovecraft kind of horror, where there's a lot of stuff that are going on that are not necessarily getting explained, yet you seeing these people struggling so hard, coming to the terms that more than likely they're not going to survive this. Start with the positives. I will definitely say this game has top-notch voice work. Every voice actor in this game is Scottish, and they all knock it out of the park.
Right, fucking scun up with the whole thing.
The Lord loves you, mate, no matter what. And I'm pretty sure Suze does too.
That's all clear for you now, Roy.
Lovely job, thanks, Dobby.
Oh, Trot says he's left your insulin in your cabin.
Oh, bless his little communist socks. Muchly appreciated.
The authenticity of this game when it comes to the Scottish dialect is something that I really don't hear. And luckily for the player, they actually give you what they're trying to say in their slang terms. So I actually really, really enjoy that. That's something that's very kind of small, but I highly like it. The writing in this is actually really good too. I had a lot of fun playing this game in terms of the writing made me want to keep going. A lot of the dialogue
join me, and sorry to
real.
have got you
The
out of
characters when they were voicing, there's a lot of swearing in this, which is totally fine because if you've ever worked anywhere, especially I can only imagine an oil rig, I'm sure people are swearing left and right. Like enough really full depth into them, you do actually feel their fear. And that is really brought out in the voice work. I can't really praise it enough for how well the voice work made me really feel that these characters were in a truly dire and uncontrollable situation. One of the saddest moments to me becomes late into the game where you're talking to a guy over the phone and he's literally about to drown. That is heartbreaking, but at the same time, it's told so well that it pulls on your heartstrings. These are just normal people in a situation that they never were meant to get in. And while there is a couple moments here and there in the story where they might have the characters split up for some reason, which I don't always know why, I kind of contribute that more to video game logic than actually story logic. It didn't throw me off, and overall, I find that completely fine. Graphically, this game is good. I had a lot of enjoyment in how it looks. It looks very grainy, really just what you expect. And as the game goes on, you see more and more how this game kind of twists from just a regular day out and a cloudy day in the air to by nighttime it is this deep purple as if you are truly descending into hell. While if you do play this game, I do recommend turning off motion blur. Overall, the graphics do look good. They're nothing that are going to knock you out of the park, but they do have a solid look to them. However, I will say, on a positive note, the sound design is absolutely immaculate. When you have headphones on and you're listening to the waves crashing and everything's breaking down around you, they took a lot of time to make sure that this sounds and get that atmosphere going. The atmosphere for Still Wakes the Deep is absolutely awesome, and it comes down from the graphics and sound design. Both of them are great. Sound design especially, I would put that right up there in some of the best I think I've ever heard personally. Now yes, you are on a floating rig, so I will say that you're going to hear a lot of water, a lot of the wind blowing, there's explosions going around due to the rig falling apart, but everything about it, I had a great time listening to it, and it really brought that sense of dread. Now, when you are inside the oil rig, in the cabins, in certain engineering rooms, there is that real haunting feel to it. The atmosphere inside the building of the oil rig is just as good as outside. It gives you a real sense of dread and just not really knowing. One of the biggest, scariest parts of it to me was the fact that I didn't know if my flashlight that I had would actually attract monsters or not, so a lot of times I would turn it off just because I was kind of worried. It's little things that can give the horror aspect a real shine, and those aspects alone make this really, really fun and really enjoyable. However, the same cannot necessarily be said for the gameplay. Now, as for the gameplay itself, it is an on rails to the max kind of game. This game is story first, very much gameplay second. And I didn't really want to get too negative with this, but this game really likes to bring you from one area to another. It is the epitome of walking down a hallway. Throughout pretty much the whole game, Cass will get told, hey, you need to go to a certain area, and you just walk from one area to another. There really is no exploration in this at all. That is something that can get a little bothersome for people who really do like exploring, and being on an oil rig is kind of a unique area to be in. But if you're looking for a game where you can explore anywhere at any point, there's basically none. What you'll be doing mostly is hiding from the monsters, running, jumping, and climbing ladders. That's pretty much it. The game tries to give you a little bit of agency where you're like moving levers and trying to climb by having you interact a little bit more. There also is a couple moments where it's kind of like running away from certain monsters, but all in reality, they still don't really do much to make you want to keep playing in terms of gameplay wise. There were a couple moments where the game really kind of bogs down, and it's because you're really not doing anything. I went from one area, I would swim, go to another area, and that was pretty much the level. Now, I'm not saying that every game needs to have like a lot of exploration or some sort of like combat. Stealth is just fine. I mean, you're just a regular guy on a ship. Like, there's nothing much to it. However, this is one of those games where, because of how the gameplay is, you'll probably only play it once and never pick it back up again, unless you're going for achievements. Overall, I still say this game is a good time if you like horror-based games. It's not the scariest, but it does give a really good atmosphere. The gameplay does bog down because there's really not much to do, and the puzzles that are in this game really don't do much to benefit it in any way. Overall, I think I'll give this game a 7 out of 10. Do I think you should play it? Yes. As I said, I don't think you'll be playing this more than once. Now, I want to hear what y'all had to think about this. Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to check out all my socials down in the description below, and as always, I'm Taylor from AfrofishOG, and I will catch you in the next one.